One Piece chapter 1078 was an insane chapter. We learn who the traitor is, we learn the motive of the traitor, we get a whole bunch of new events, and a very, very cryptic message from the narrator about what events are to come, hyping us up for the chapters that are going to come later. So, with that being said, if you're new here, my name is Richard, this is my wife Claire,
Hello.
and we're One Piece of a Dream. Let's go ahead and get right into this 1078 chapter review. The chapter is titled Escape Limit. Let's get into it. It starts with the cover story of Neo Mads being formed. Neo Mads being Caesar Clown and Judge stopped their fighting last chapter and decided to unite, and essentially now they see Vegapunk as the main problem that they have to deal with. So we're gonna have to see how this plays out, since this is now present day and they're probably going to end up showing up to Egghead Island, more than likely to try to kill Vegapunk, since they see him now as the actual problem. What is a problem, though, is that as soon as Vegapunk is out of the picture, if he is, but there's so many people that want to kill him, I can't help but think that, yeah, he probably will be. More than likely, what's going to happen is Judge and Caesar are just going to go back at it again.
Yeah, I can't really see them being peaceful with each other for long.
No, not at all. It's more than likely just going to be that they see each other as conflict and prevention from them becoming the best scientists in the world, as that is their ultimate goal, is to be the world's best scientists, and ultimately they're going to have to take each other out to become that. Although Judge has a very strong advantage because Caesar Clown's a joke. Let's be honest, his last name is Clown and he's a joke. Anyway, let's get into the actual chapter. The chapter starts with Sentomaru and Stussy talking over the Denden Mushi about how Uncle Kizaru is currently on the way to the island, and it just blows my mind that Sentomaru still has the amount of respect that he does for Kizaru, calling him Uncle still. I mean, I know maybe it could be just a habit, but like, man, Kizaru's on his way to the island to kill you and Vegapunk, and you are still acting like he's family? I mean, come on. And the Uncle Kizaru thing, that makes me think that Kizaru and likely Vegapunk, since Vegapunk seems to be the father figure here for, Sentomaru, is likely going to be, like, their best friend sort of deal. So, Kizaru having to be the one to come and kill Vegapunk without even thinking about it seems, because he was already on his way to Egghead Island, like, before the order was even given from Sakazuki. So, him just rushing out to Vegapunk makes me think, okay, if they're like brothers, either he really likes the Marines and the world government that much more, which could be the case since he is an admiral, or there's something else going on here and Kizaru's actually going to possibly play a role in helping Vegapunk escape. Now, very unlikely since there's a Gorosei with them that he's escorting at the moment, but it's a major possibility.
Sad times ahead.
Yeah, very sad times ahead it seems, because this is going to probably be an emotional backstory explanation behind Kizaru, Vegapunk, and Sentomaru. We cut from there to a scene of the Egghead Island citizens now fleeing the island under Sentomaru's orders after being explained the Ohara incident in the last chapter. Now that they know the truth and what is likely about to occur on Egghead Island, they are fleeing. Smart move. From there we go and we see what's going on with S-Snake, Frankie, Lilith, Usopp, and Pythagoras, and honestly, it's not good. As we recall from last chapter, Usopp and Lilith are now completely turned to stone. So there's that development, and Frankie is almost entirely stone. His face is partially stone, and his left arm is free. This is about all he's capable of doing at this point. So we actually get to see S-Snake from here continue with the violence and take Pythagoras and just crush his cute little head. Whether Pythagoras will come back or not, probably not. It's unlikely, unless he has, like, backed up data somewhere or something. Pythagoras is probably gone. Same thing I would say with Shaka, but
yeah, but
we'll see what that...
somebody have to rebuild him?
Someone would have to rebuild him, yes. But, we saw with Atlas, when she got punched by Lucci, that it wasn't that big of a deal with the spare parts laying around Egghead for the other Vegapunks or medics or whoever did it to restore a Vegapunk robot.
Where are the other Vegapunks?
Well,
there aren't very many of them available now.
That is true. But we'll move on from that for now and leave that be. We next see Robin, Atlas, and Chopper, and they are explaining that the Seraphim are running amok and that they likely should just go off and search for Vegapunk, which is what they want to do because they remember the old Devil Fruit Research Lab, and Robin, in typical Robin fashion, is heading to the basement because she goes to the basement in the secret places where she's not supposed to go every time that we go anywhere in any arc. So there's that information. It's not surprising at all. But what is surprising is that Robin, knowing that the Seraphim are running amok and that Nami would be in danger, states that there is definitely somebody who will come and save her if Nami screams, which we saw last chapter is true. It is Sanji, and we were all well aware of that. That is part of the Sanji Land Constitution, so the law must be obeyed. We go next to see that Nami is holding Edison like a baby in her arms after he has been badly beaten up and begging Edison to hang in there, while Brook is using his soul form to leave his body and go search for the Stella Vegapunk. And directly after this, we cut over to the foreshadowed by Robin fight scene between Sanji and S-Shark. S-Shark is punching Sanji directly in the face, and Sanji is taking no damage. This is rather interesting because this is kind of Vegapunk versus Judge going on here, and we are seeing that it seems Judge currently has the advantage. Whether Sanji wants to admit that or not, his genetic enhancements are indeed a result of Judge's scientific work, so he wants to blame it on love, but we know the truth, and so does he, whether he likes it or not. The Sanji Land Constitution may be strong, so may the power of love, but Judge's enhancements are ultimately stronger, it seems. Next we cut to Luffy, Lucci, Zoro, and Kaku versus S-Hawk and S-Bear. And it seems that S-Hawk has left the building, he's run off. And seeing this development, Lucci explains that it's likely that S-Hawk is currently running off to pick off the weaker ones, since that's a very good tactical decision, and this basically causes Zoro to chase after S-Hawk. And as a result, Luffy tells Kaku actually I should really specify Usopp, because he calls him Usopp, to go and chase after Zoro and S-Hawk. Obviously, Kaku doesn't take too kindly to being called Usopp, but he does actually obey the order first and chase after Zoro. I guess it's just a result of being ordered around his whole life. He just takes orders if you give them to him. But then again, it's also part of their current strategy to not die. So I guess it's important. And after this, we do see that Luffy is attempting to punch S-Bear again with a Hawk Gatling, and this basically is doing no damage at all. And this basically, it implores Lucci to explain the genius strategy of not punching S-Bear when the flame is on, when we know we can't damage him. So, the problem here is that it seems the Seraphim's flames only go out, from what we've seen, when their Devil Fruit powers are activated. How do you actually hit one of them when their Devil Fruit powers are activated? It's when it's their strongest. Vegapunk clearly thought of this and decided to make it so that if they have to have this weakness, then it should at least be when they're at their strongest, so they can counterbalance the weakness with their other strengths. Very smart play from the smartest man in the world. But is there a way around this? Well, for most of them, probably. You mean, Zoro could cut steel, so maybe for S-Hawk he could take him down, but for someone like S-Shark, this will be a problem considering his Devil Fruit is the swim fruit, and he could quite literally swim through objects, and everybody else can't.
Yeah,
so,
that's a tricky one.
Yeah, unless you destroy the object he is currently inside of, I don't see how they're going to take him out, which is probably how Sanji's going to do it. But so far, nobody's been able to actually do real damage to the Seraphim. It's just been a back and forth. Nobody's really doing anything to each other here. And honestly, Luffy and Lucci have still yet to go all out against the Seraphim they're currently fighting. So it's probably likely that we will see them go all out, and that's how they're going to actually take the Seraphim out. This may lead into some other bad developments, considering the Marines are on their way at their full force, and it also is very, very likely that Luffy may be an old man during this, because if he's at full Sun God Nika mode, it may put him at too much of an advantage, at least I think. I don't really know. I don't really see any advantage here, even if he is at full power, because we have a Gorosei and Kizaru built on their way, plus 100 warships. I can't imagine that this is much of an advantage. Moving on from here, we get a quick scene of Bonnie still in Kuma's memory room. She is currently crying. I'm not sure if she is still witnessing or has already finished witnessing the memories. However, this is obviously setting us up for when we learn about the full memories, because the full memories are probably going to stab us right in the heart and make us very upset. There seems like there's going to be a couple of sad backstories going on in this arc. I imagine something with Sentomaru probably will happen as well, but I'm sure that the ultimate sad backstory is definitely going to be the one with Kuma. Directly after this, we cut to Mary Joa, a flashback, where we see the Traitor currently giving the information over to the Elder Stars about Vegapunk researching into the Void Century, and we learn that Vegapunk has actually learned more about the Void Century than Ohara, something I have repeatedly said in my prior videos if you've watched them. If not, I recommend you go check them out. In fact, I think I know what information he's learned. I believe that he has learned about what the ancient energy was that powered the robot, even though he says he hasn't yet, and I also believe he's probably learned the name of the ancient kingdom. Now, I have an entire video that'll be shown at the end of this one that you can click on that'll explain everything Vegapunk likely does know about the Void Century regarding this energy source. We actually learned from here that the world government was planning to bring down this level of a threat to Egghead Island the entire time, regardless of whether Luffy was there or not. This was not a last-minute decision. This was a pre-planned decision due to Vegapunk being able to defend himself. Unlike Ohara, they want to make sure that they're not taking any chances. However, this basically chance encounter of Straw Hat Luffy showing up was not in the cards for them. So when Luffy did show up, it put a little bit of a wrench in their plans, but with the way things are going currently with the Traitor on Egghead Island, it does obviously put a big damper on Luffy's powers and abilities, as well as his crews, and it's going to essentially dull their fighting force down for when the Marines get there. Not good. They're going to be at a significant disadvantage, and it kind of makes me ask the question, is Luffy and his crew that powerful that they could have actually, with Vegapunk, taken these forces down? Is that actually a possibility at this point? Because if it is, and that's what Oda's implying, then that is just insane. If that's not what Oda's implying, and he's really just trying to make the odds seem like they're against the Straw Hats and Vegapunk, he's doing a very good job of that as well. However, whichever way this goes, it's clearly going to be an amazing fiasco that takes place, because the narrator directly after this says that the events of Egghead Island are going to shock and shake the entire world. The world will be changed. What are those events going to be? I imagine we are going to have another Whitebeard type situation where he screamed out the One Piece is real to the entire planet. Why? Because I think Vegapunk is going to do this, but with the Void Century. He's going to somehow either transmit the information wirelessly from his brain, which, don't forget, that was his dream, so he's probably been working on a way to do this, to send it out to the entire world, or he's just going to do it over Den Den Mushi, similar to how Whitebeard did it when he was being recorded, and he's likely going to tell everybody about the Void Century energy in the name of the Ancient Kingdom. If he does this, yes, the world will be shocked, and it may even turn against the world government for keeping them stuck in the era that they have been stuck in currently. One other final thing that is important to note here for the end of the chapter, which will make sense very shortly, is that Cypher Pole Zero was exclusively told to kill every Vegapunk. Keep that in mind. I promise you it will be important later, and you'll see why. In fact, you'll see why even sooner than you're probably thinking, because we are about to get to who the traitor is. You see, now we cut over to Stella. Stella Vegapunk is currently stuck in his holding cell, still bleeding in the same condition that he was in before. However, now he's currently being confronted by the traitor, with the dead body of Shaka laying on the ground, bleeding out of his head. So, as unfortunate as it is, it does seem Shaka is likely dead. But the big reveal now coming to you of who the traitor is, I'm sure if you haven't figured it out yet, or just haven't gotten this far into the chapter yet for whatever reason, but big reveal, the traitor is York.
What a twist.
What a twist. Well, it was a twist because nobody probably saw this coming. Most people were saying other Vegapunks. I mean, I said Edison. She actually guessed York. It was a joke, but she did. Yes, she did guess it though. It does make sense when you find out Punk's motives, because York explains to Stella that she actually wants to become a celestial dragon, or Tenryubito, whatever you want to say. Both of it means the same thing. What does matter though is that Vegapunk is floored by this, because Vegapunk literally tells York that they are scum. You've been to Marijoa. Why on earth would you want to become a celestial dragon? They are the worst human beings you could be. However, York being the embodiment of greed, this makes complete and total sense, because York literally seeing the celestial dragons puts in her mind that this is the ultimate embodiment of greed. They are the greediest people in the world. They have all the money, they have slaves, they have everything you could possibly think of. It's at their fingertips, and that is what York wants. So York made the deal that she would hand over Vegapunk, kill all the other Vegapunks, and basically, essentially just sell them out to the world government for the chance to be a celestial dragon. And she believes that she's going to get this chance. However, yeah, if we remember earlier, Cypher Pole Zero wasn't just sent to kill all the other Vegapunks. They were sent to kill every Vegapunk, including York. So clearly the world government is not on board with York's plans. Probably because anybody who isn't already a celestial dragon, doesn't matter who you are, as Vegapunk stated, he's not even allowed to know about the Void Century, and he's pretty high up on the government's favorite list. At least he was before this incident that's about to take place. You are not allowed to learn about the Void Century. It is off limits to anybody. We don't even know if the Celestial Dragons actually know the ancient history. Maybe the Elder Stars and Emu, they definitely do. That's not even a question. But do the regular Celestial Dragons know? Hard to say. It may not even be legal in Mary Joa. That might be one of the few laws they have to follow. Or maybe they do know it. Hard to say because we haven't been clarified on whether or not the Celestial Dragons are actually aware of the Void Century history. But what we are aware of is that York is probably not going to become one, even though she wants to be. Because in the flashback, it was also not stated that it was even her who was behind all this. So I don't know how she's planning to do this. But finally, there is one last thing which will make things make even less sense. So Oda's got some explaining to do, and that is York says she wants to be the only remaining Vegapunk. The world only needs one of us, but she clearly had to have had some sort of help, at least I would think, because it doesn't make sense that she would be able to pull all of this stuff off if she didn't have some kind of assistance, unless she lied to one of the other Vegapunks and tricked them into it, or maybe she genuinely was going to let them live. I doubt it, but she claims that she wants to be the only one, so this does push a lot of that out the window if she's not just betraying them outright, which makes sense because she's betraying other people. Why wouldn't she just betray them as well? If she indeed did get help with this, who would have helped her? Well, I think we might have a bit of a hint. And why would she need help? Probably because it's literally impossible to do what she did. Yes, getting turned to stone and turned back, I can understand how that happened. We said in the last video how that happened when Frankie, Lilith, and Usopp and Pythagoras, they got knocked off the bridge right after York was turned to stone. Snake probably turned York back to a normal human form. And that is when York ran off back to the Devil Fruit Research Lab to continue with her dastardly evil plans. But what doesn't make sense is how she was actually even able to capture Stella while being in the same room with all the other satellites and the Straw Hats earlier in a few chapters ago. It doesn't really make much sense at all that she could do that unless she has somebody assisting her. There are other things as well that also do not make sense, but I'm not going to sit here and list them all off. That alone should be enough of a hint that she had to have someone helping.
She definitely had help.
Yes, but what also could be, a way to figure out who the help was, maybe when we look at everybody who's complained over funding. Obviously, funding is money, therefore greed. So we could probably look at this as possibly people that may be involved. Do I think it's 100%? No. Do I believe people like Lilith? I don't know. I'm iffy on Lilith, but she did also complain about the funding. So there's two different ways I'm going to tell you that we can look at this. We can look at this from the perspective of everybody who complained about funding minus Stella, likely felt the same greed that York did and may have been lied to or manipulated by York into helping her with this plan to maybe get more funding. Maybe she told them this was for a different reason and that's why they went along with it, but we saw Lilith and Atlas both also complain about this. So it's possible that maybe they were in on this. But then when I see how Lilith was behaving right before she was turned to stone, I can't imagine that she was actually behind this because she was just being way too friendly. Now, I know it could all be an act, but something about that just screams to me that she wasn't actually behind this and that she's she's probably not that bad of a person, even though she's evil. I mean, that's weird to say, but she really seems like she wants to impress people and have friends and stuff. She seems like a show-off, so I can't really say that she is actually behind this. She seemed just as taken aback by it as everybody else, and now she's a rock. So, I mean, unless she gets turned back, which would have to happen right in front of Frankie, who's currently not entirely a rock, which probably won't happen since York doesn't actually want her to stay alive. York wants all the Vegapunks dead except for her, so she can be the only one. Obviously, she's greedy. And obviously, it's the "my clone wants to be me" scientific trope from sci-fi that we've seen many times in the past in other series. It's unlikely that any other Vegapunk will be surviving this if York has her way, and I don't foresee York actually surviving this either because I believe she will probably get killed well before ever becoming a Celestial Dragon by the very people that she tried to gain from by selling out the Stella and other Vegapunk satellites. And I want to bring up too that she does not seem to have any animosity towards any of the other Vegapunks. This is more just seeming to be furthering her life's goals because she doesn't really seem to be angry with Stella or any of the other ones. She just seems to do this very casually and it's more like I'm just fulfilling a greedy desire. And it's also a possibility also that she may just be tired of eat, sleep, poop cycles all day for 6 other people. I can imagine that could get dull. She doesn't really contribute much. She probably doesn't even have to upload and download memories, so she could probably get away with this quite easily, because why would you need those experiences? With that being said, that is all Oda has given us on the situation. Let us know what you guys think down in the comments. If York did have help, if she didn't have help, tell us the who, what, when, where, and why you believe it. And if you enjoyed this video, maybe consider watching this video on screen right now. It'll explain quite a bit about the Void Century energy and may give you some new thoughts and ideas, not only on that, but real life matters as well, because it ties in very well with some very real life theories, we should say. With that being said, that's all we have for you guys today. We'll see you guys again in the next video.
Bye.
Bye.